The 8th episode of the 6th season, Point and Shoot, gives us another mysterious opening, just like many of the episodes in this 6th season have. The camera starts out on a beach, and we have no idea where we are or what we're doing there. And then the camera starts moving in the direction of the water. We see a floating shoe, and we hold in the water for a moment, thinking we're going to get some answers about whose shoe this is and why we're at this beach. But we get nothing. We've been tricked. The camera starts moving in the opposite direction to where the real goods are. And we see Howard's car, his wallet, and his wedding ring. This is not the last bit of misdirection in this episode that uses direction as a theme. We're going to see characters misdirect each other. We're going to see characters give each other directions, and characters' motives are going to be hard to read and leave us uncertain as to what direction these characters are going to go in. Big question of the episode for me is, was Kim misdirecting Mike in the final scene? Final scene with Kim and Jimmy. So let's take a look at all this directing, misdirecting in the 8th episode of the final season, Point and Shoot. I'm G, and this is the G-Spot. We talked about Lalo's motives for shooting Howard in my last video. I surmised that it was to keep Howard quiet, to keep Howard from not exposing Kim. And the way the scene is written in the last episode, Plan and Execution, and the way this scene is written in Point and Shoot, I have to say that I was probably wrong when I said that Lalo shot Howard to keep him from exposing Kim and Jimmy. All of the dialogue points to Lalo shooting Howard in order to get Jimmy and Kim's attention. Because the only thing Lalo really talks about is wanting them to listen. It does seem that he shot Howard just to get their attention. I suppose there's also the possibility that Lalo shot Howard so he had one less person to deal with while implementing his plan of misdirection against Gus. Lalo has Kim and Jimmy's attention. He starts giving them directions. Jimmy's reply to these directions is a bit of misdirection. Exactly why Jimmy decides that he should send Kim is unknown, and it's a bit mysterious. The reasoning that Kim eventually tells Mike is that Jimmy just wanted to get her out of there. This is somewhat believable. It's believable that Jimmy felt he did not want to leave Kim alone with Lalo, the psychopath, who knew what he was going to do with her. I mean, honestly, dealing with someone like Lalo, you need to worry if the guy gets bored. What's he going to do to amuse himself? So, okay, in a way, that is believable. But here's my problem with this. I think we're supposed to imagine that Jimmy feels that Kim is going to run away. I mean, that would be Jimmy saving Kim, right? If Jimmy offered to stay with Lalo, send Kim, Kim's going to take off and basically run, and then Jimmy will be stuck there to suffer the consequences with Lalo. I guess that's what we're supposed to imagine that Jimmy was thinking. My problem with this is, why would Jimmy ever believe that Kim would run? If Kim was there with a stranger, she would not leave that stranger behind, let alone Jimmy. Jimmy knows this about Kim. Kim is never going to leave somebody behind. It's against her nature. Jimmy knows that. We know that. Not for 1 second did I ever think that Kim was going to run. I also really did not think for 1 second that she was actually going to say something to the police. I knew right from the start that Kim was going to do what she needed to do to try to make sure that Jimmy was safe. And I don't think there's any reason to believe that Jimmy would have thought anything different. To me, thinking Kim was going to run in this situation would be like Jimmy thinking that Kim was going to get in a spaceship and fly to the moon. She's just never going to do either of those things. So it's hard for me to see this moment as Jimmy stepping up to keep Kim safe. I think Jimmy knows just as well as we did that Kim is going to go complete this murder errand. Okay, maybe Jimmy still felt Kim is safer going on this murder mission than sitting here with Lalo. But this is also a ridiculous thought. I mean, best case scenario, if Kim completes the mission and walks away untouched, well, Kim now has to deal with the fact that she is a murderer, a cold-blooded murderer. There's no telling the psychological toll that that would have on Kim. All we do know is Kim would have been different for the rest of her life. On top of that, what if someone saw Kim and could identify her? Now she's going to be charged and tried as a murderer. Again, in no way do I see this situation of Jimmy saving Kim, because that's all best case scenario. Worst case scenario is Kim and Jimmy had no idea what type of situation Kim was walking into. Lalo says the guy's a house cat, but look at what this house cat had ready for anybody that was going to attack him. If Mike was not aware of who Kim was, I don't think there's any telling. Right? I don't think Kim would have walked out alive. Really, there's no reason for Jimmy, at the point where he's telling Lalo to send Kim, there's no reason for Jimmy to believe that Kim is going to walk out alive. He should have serious doubts about whether she's going to walk out alive. No, Jimmy sending Kim, I don't see any type of valiant behavior. I don't see any type of sacrifice. I don't see Jimmy trying to save Kim. I see Jimmy trying to save Jimmy. And that's really all I see. The reason why Jimmy is like this, Jimmy does not want to be the one to go because Jimmy abhors violence. He cannot murder somebody with a gun. He's incapable of it, and he knows it. And that's why he's telling Lalo to send Kim. Now, it could be that Jimmy's in a high-pressure situation, he's having a trouble thinking straight, and even though we just went through all these reasons why it wasn't a good idea to send Kim, that in this high-pressure situation where he can't think straight, Jimmy just thinks, oh yeah, this actually is the best way to keep Kim safe. But I really don't think that's what happened. I think what happened is Jimmy threw Kim to the wolves because he wanted to save himself. And the reason why I think Jimmy was able to do that without his conscience preventing him from doing it is because this is no longer Jimmy. This is Saul. It has been Saul since he left the desert. And the difference between Jimmy and Saul is Saul has lost his humanity. He no longer has any humanity left. So in situations like this, even when it's Kim, Jimmy is going to throw the other person to the wolves in order to preserve himself. Even if he's not willing to admit that, even if it's going to be that he's pretending to save Kim, Jimmy is really just throwing Kim to the wolves in order to save himself. As Kim is leaving, Lalo reminds Kim to put her shoes on. I'm not exactly sure what this is about. It could be in reference to the barefoot theory and whether or not Kim is going to lose her life before the end of the series. Personally, I'm more convinced than ever that Kim will die before the end of the series. I actually think Kim is going to be buried in the desert. I have a strong feeling that that is going to be Kim's ending. But maybe we have this line about Lalo telling Kim to put her shoes on because maybe Kim is not gonna die before the end of the series. There are a couple things that we've seen that do provide some evidence to believe that Kim actually ends up in prison. But I'm more convinced than ever that Kim will be buried in the desert before the end of this series. Which means the reason why Lalo told her to put her shoes on was merely to demonstrate Kim's current state of mind. Kim was a nervous wreck. She could not think straight. She was barely like in reality. She was kind of outside of herself because of, I mean, she was being sent to murder somebody. This is, this isn't normal stuff. It's not something you just go, oh, well, I wasn't planning on doing that, but okay, I guess I'll go do it. This is life-changing stuff. And I think that's what Lalo's comment about Kim putting on her shoes was about. After Kim leaves, Lalo starts tying Jimmy up. Lalo tells Jimmy about Nacho's betrayal. And he also makes some new accusations against Jimmy. What I think we need to know at this point is that Jimmy is unaware that Nacho died. Jimmy thinks Nacho is alive, or at least has no reason to think he's dead. And we certainly don't have any reason to believe that Lalo knows that Nacho's dead. Maybe Lalo does know. There was a lot of season 6 where we didn't see who Lalo was talking to. But we have not seen him acquire this information. So it's just important to note Jimmy, not so much Lalo anymore, but Jimmy is not aware of Nacho's death yet. This 6th season has been loaded with callbacks, references to previous episodes in Better Call Saul. And we get a few more in this episode. We get our first one when Lalo is leaving the apartment. It's kind of a silly one. I got a big kick out of it. And Lalo is making fun of Jimmy's taupe Taurus, the car that he drives. This is a throwback to the guy for this. Lalo hires Jimmy to talk to Crazy 8 in prison. When they meet at the racetrack, Lalo makes fun of Jimmy's broken down esteem. Lalo thinks the cars Jimmy drives are a joke. That's kind of funny. After Lalo leaves, we go to Kim, and once Kim arrives at Gus, we get another callback. And this callback is different than any other callback we've seen this season. Because can you tell what series I'm in right now? Because I am not in Better Call Saul. I'm in Breaking Bad. This is when Walt was going to make a hit on Gus. I believe this is the first callback to Breaking Bad that we've gotten in Better Call Saul. It's not going to be the last. We're going to get another one this episode. But obviously, we are getting closer and closer to the return of Walt and Jesse, as they are now using callbacks from Breaking Bad rather than Better Call Saul. We should note, Kim was completely and totally prepared to complete her mission. Again, don't understand. Saying that Jimmy thought Kim would run, I really like what I said before. It's like thinking Kim was going to get on a spaceship and travel to the moon. It was never going to happen. Kim walked out of that apartment ready to become a murderer. And Jimmy was okay with her doing that. Once Kim is at Gus's, we see Kim in a way we've never really seen her before. She is completely overwhelmed, and then she is forced into submission. And really, that's a whole new look for Kim. I don't think we've ever seen Kim forced into submission like she is in this episode. Mike gives Kim directions, and then Mike gives everybody directions, including Gus. But Gus is not gonna listen to Mike's directions. As soon as Mike and his men leave and go to Kim's to find Lalo, Gus calls Kim. Gus wants to know why Lalo sent her. So Kim tells Gus that he planned on sending Jimmy, but that Jimmy changed Lalo's mind. And this really strikes Gus. It's right after this that Gus tells his men he wants to go to the laundry. A squeaky fan works as perfect misdirection for Lalo to get the drop on Gus and his men. And now Lalo has Gus right where he wants him. Right after this, we get another callback to Breaking Bad. We see Gus holding Lalo at gunpoint, forcing him to go into the lab with the intentions of killing him in the lab. Just like we saw in the episode Full Measure with Mike and Walt. We've talked about Lalo's downfall being that he's always super focused, and we're gonna see in a few moments that this downfall of Lalo's is what leads to his demise. They start walking into the lab, and as we said, to be clear, Lalo has Gus right where he wants him. Lalo has Gus in a no-win situation. The only thing between Lalo and Gus right now is the camera that Lalo is keeping focused on Gus. Right here, we get a hint of the troubles the camera are gonna cause for Lalo. Then they get into the lab. Lalo is distracted by keeping the camera focused on Gus. Lalo does let Gus move around freely and do whatever he wants because he's so interested in recording what Gus is saying. Gus springs the trap that he set in the episode Black and Blue, and the trap works, and Gus ends Lalo. This was a huge win for Gus. Gus has had to put everything on hold ever since Lalo started meddling in his business. And now with Lalo finally eliminated, Gus can get back to completing his super lab. Before we get back to Kim and Jimmy, because that is where the episode goes after this, I want to talk about Mike and how we can see how much Mike has changed in this episode. Now, we know Mike has changed. This is not new news to us. Mike's change started when he pulled the trigger on Werner, and Mike's big change started when he pulled the trigger on Werner, and Mike's big change ended when Gus saves his life. So we've known that Mike went through a huge change, but in this episode, they help highlight the change in Mike. This scene of burying Howard should remind us of the episode in season 3, I believe it's episode 8, titled Slip. In that episode, for the good of his own conscience, Mike ends up digging up the Good Samaritan that was killed by the cartel. This Good Samaritan was an innocent victim who got tied up in Mike's robbing of Hector's truck. Because this Good Samaritan saw anything that had to do with the cartel decided they had to kill him. They kill the Good Samaritan, bury him in the desert, and Mike finds out about this from Nacho, and this is not sitting well in Mike's conscious. He cannot deal with the fact that there is a family who lost somebody and they're never going to find out what happened to their family member. So eventually in the episode Slip, Mike goes and finds the Good Samaritan where he's buried in the desert and then alerts the authorities so that they can dig him up and notify the family, and there can be resolution in this innocent man's death. Fast forward to Point and Shoot, and Mike is burying his own Good Samaritan with Howard. Now, Howard may not be a Good Samaritan, but he was certainly innocent. He was an innocent victim of the cartel, simply for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And maybe Mike couldn't have prevented his death. Maybe he could have if he was watching, but that's not the point. The point is Howard has family. Howard has loved ones. No one's ever going to know exactly what happened to Howard. Mike is burying Howard, and nobody's ever going to find him. And Mike is going to be perfectly fine with all of this. Mike is not going to have a conscience that causes him to go and dig up Howard in the future. We know this for certain. So there has been a really huge change in Mike from when we first met him. When Better Call Saul, the series, begins, Mike is kind of on a road to redemption. But Mike never finds that redemption. And, you know, Mike does break bad in Better Call Saul. And like I said, that all happens between the shooting of Werner and Gus saving his life. But again, we get a very clear demonstration of how much Mike has changed through this series when we see him bury Howard and know that this is not going to weigh on his conscience in the future. He's perfectly fine with what he did. But let's talk about Kim and Jimmy in this moment when Mike is giving them their directions and how to deal with all of this. As far as, I think they're both using misdirection in this moment. Jimmy's solemn, right? He's trying to act like, Jimmy's trying to give the impression that he's a bit overwhelmed by everything that happened, dealing with what happened to innocent Howard. He's quiet, he's solemn. But I don't think this is how Jimmy is on the inside. I think inside, Jimmy is really okay with everything that has happened. I think Jimmy borders on being happy in this moment. There's a lot for him to be happy about. Both him and Kim are safe. Kim did not have to pull the trigger. The ever-continuing Lalo situation is finally over, and the mess of having a dead Howard in the apartment is going to be taken care of by Mike. All Jimmy has to do is go to work, and when he comes home that night, everything's going to be back to normal. So I really see Jimmy to be perfectly okay with everything that has happened at this point. If Jimmy is bothered by anything, and I do think he was bothered in the episode, it is only that he had to witness Howard's execution. Jimmy abhors violence. He really, really, really can't stand it. We said that we saw Kim earlier in a way we've never seen her before. Mike forces her into submission when she is in Gus's house. But now, back at her apartment with her and Jimmy and Mike, Kim is in this state of obedience. Her head hung in shame, agreeing to do whatever Mike says. Okay, so if we want to figure out what's going on with Kim at this point, there's two things that are really important that we recognize that she's going through. The first thing is Kim did not get away with it. And this is, in Kim's mind, this is the most important part of everything, getting away with it, because of the experience she had with her mother. So as Mike is giving Kim and Jimmy his directions, he incorporates Kim's plan to take Howard down into his plan to, how do we say it? Get rid of Howard's body without people knowing who killed him. When Mike goes through this plan, it basically tells Kim, I know what you've been up to the whole time. You didn't get away with anything. The other thing we have to keep in mind with Kim is she's really confused about who she actually is in this moment. Howard suffered the ultimate consequence because of Kim's actions. On top of that, Kim was ready to kill in cold blood just a few hours ago. So Kim really has to be questioning exactly who she is. And at this point, Kim has lost touch with her humanity. Whereas Jimmy has no humanity left now that he is Saul. Kim has only lost touch with her humanity. And Kim still has a chance to get on a road of redemption. Yeah, I guess Kim could decide to go on a road to redemption from here. She could get in touch with Suzanne. She could explain to Suzanne where Lalo is. This is another thing that Jimmy and Kim have to deal with. What is Suzanne and the DA's office going to do about this case against Lalo? They want Lalo in prison. They're never going to get him there now. Who are they going to go after to get information from? So Kim, if Kim wants to seek redemption, she could go to Suzanne, explain to her where Lalo is, tell her all about Mike and Mike's mysterious boss. Kim actually has a lot of information to offer Suzanne that could put Kim in a place where she's not legally charged with anything. So that is one possibility. I do not think that is what Kim is going to do. The other possibility that we have for Kim is that she is using misdirection. She is letting Mike believe that she's sorry for what she did and regrets her actions and is humbled and just listening to Mike and wanting to do whatever Mike says because Mike's going to help her get out of this. She may want Mike to believe all this because she doesn't want Mike to see what's coming. Because I think there's a really good chance that Kim is going to go after Mike and probably Gus. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but we have to keep in mind, Kim does crazy things. Why would she go after Mike and Gus? Well, because Mike is making Kim face a truth she doesn't want to face. He is confronting her with everything she did to Howard. We've seen Kim confronted with the truth in the past. Suzanne confronted Kim with the truth in season 4. Howard confronted Kim with the truth in season 5. Chuck confronted Kim with the truth in season 3. Kim destroyed all 3 of these people. Okay, she didn't destroy Suzanne, but she certainly blew up the Huell Babineau case. And she did destroy Suzanne as far as that case is concerned. Once somebody confronts Kim with the truth, she locks onto that person and she is going to put them in their place. She did it to Chuck. She did it to Suzanne. She did it to Howard. And now I think she's going to do it to Mike and probably Gus. We hear Kim say in the episode, she yells at Mike, "You were supposed to be watching us." We've seen the end of Jimmy already. Jimmy ended in the desert. We've seen the beginning of the end of Kim. The beginning of the end of Kim was in Something Unforgivable. I believe Point and Shoot is the beginning of the end of Jimmy and Kim's relationship. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a great day.